Good evening, student. Welcome back to my channel. Yesterday we have discussed about philosophy, and today we are going to discuss about relationship between philosophy and education. So this is chapter 1, unit 1, philosophical foundation of education, and today we are going to discuss about relationship between philosophy and education. Then first of all we come to know what is the education and meaning of education. Generally speaking, education is utilized three sense knowledge, subject and a process. When a person achieves degree up to certain level, we do not call it education. As for example, if a person has secured master degree, then we utilize education it a very narrowing sense and call that a person has achieved education up to master level. In the second sense, education is utilized in the sense of discipline. For example, if a person had taken education as a paper or as a discipline during his study in any institution, then we utilize education as a subject. In the third sense, education is utilized as a process. In fact, when we talk about education, we talk in the third sense, that is education as process. Thus, we talk what is education as a process, what are their important, etc. Meaning in etymologically, the term education has been derived from Latin word educare, educator, and educatum. Educare means to rise up or to bring up or nourishing. It indicates that a child is to be brought up or nurtured, keeping certain aim and ideals. In the terms educare means denote to lead out or to draw out. In this regard, education through its process draw out of the best what is inside the child. Educatum indicates the act of teaching or training. It throws lights on the principle and practice of teaching. It means educating the child or providing training facilities to the child for his her all-round development. But the term educator know these possibilities. It is the educator or the teacher who can know these and take appropriate method to develop those powers. In Indian language, education means siksha, which has been derived from Sanskrit verbal root shash. Shash means discipline, to control, to order, to direct, rule, etc. Education in this sense means controlling or disciplining the behavior of an individual. In Sanskrit, Siksha is a particular branch of the Sutra literature, which has six branches: Chanda, Vyakana, Nirukata, Jyotisha, and Kalpa. The Sutra literature was designed to learn the Vedas. Siksha denotes rules of pronunciation. There is another term of Sanskrit which was thrown light on the nature of education. It is Vidya, which means knowledge. The term Vidya has originated from Vid, meaning knowledge, to know, acquire knowledge. Hence, education in broader sense is very act or experience that has a formative effect on the mind, character, physical ability of an individual. In its technical sense, education is the process by which society deliberately transmits its accumulated knowledge, skills, and value from one generation to another. Webster defines education as the process of educating or teaching. Educate is further defined to develop the knowledge, skill, and character of. Thus, from these definitions, we might assume that the purpose of education is to develop the knowledge, skill, character of student. In the modern time, it has acquired two different shades of meaning, namely, an institutional instructions given to student in school, college, formally, and a pedagogical science studies by the student of education. Hence, the term education has a wide connotation. It is difficult to define education by single definition. Philosophers and thinkers from Socrates to Dewey in West and a host of Indian philosophers have attempted to define education. However, education can be understood as a deliberately and systematic influence exerted by mature through instruction and discipline. It means the harmonious development of all the powers of the human being, physical, social, intellectual, aesthetic, and spiritual. The essential elements in the educative process are a creative mind as well as integrated self, social, useful purpose, and experiences related to the interest of the individual, needs, and ability to the individual as a social group. Broadly, we can say education is a social process that intend to modify the behavior of the people in a social desirable direction through learning. Now we can see the meaning of education, narrower meaning. In its narrow sense, school instructions is called education. In this process, the elder of society strive to attain predetermined aims during the specified time by providing pre-structured knowledge to a child through set methods of teaching. The purpose is to achieve mental development of children entering school. To make of narrow meaning of education more clear, the following opinions some other educationists. Education is a process in which and by knowledge, character, and behavior of young are shaped and molded, given by driver. The influence of the environment of the individual, which a view to producing a permanent change in his habits of behavior or thoughts or attitude, given by Thompson. The culture which each generation purposefully gives to those who are to be its successor in order to qualify for them, at least keeping up and if possible for raising the level of improvement which has been attained. Education in the narrower sense is also regarded as acquisition of knowledge according to its. Education is the process by which knowledge or information of a subject is acquired, but many sensible educationists have criticizing this view. They argue that emphasis of knowledge is likely to reduce all schools to mere knowledge shops. The acquisition of knowledge is not the only or supreme aim of education, yet it is one of the important aim of education. Wider meaning of education. In its wider sense, education is the total development of the personality. In this sense, education consists of all those experiences which affect the individual from birth till death. Thus, education is that process by which an individual freely develops his self according to the nature is in a free and uncontrolled environment. In this way, education is lifelong process of growth and environment. We can see some definition like education in its broadest sense, it is the means of the social continuity. John Dewey. By education, I mean all round drawing out of the best in the child, man's body, mind, and soul, given by Mahatma Gandhi. In the wider sense, in its process that goes on throughout life and it is promoted by almost every experiences in life. Some definition of education. Education is something which make a man self-reliant and selfless. Rigveda. Education is the development of valuable personality and spiritual individuality given by Ross. Education is the child development from within. Rousseau. Education is the realization of self given by Sankaracharya. Education means the bringing out the idea universal validity which are latent in the minds of every man given by Socrates. Education is complete living given by Spencer. Now we can see the nature of education. Education is a lifelong process and education is a bipolar process. John Adams stated, education is a bipolar process in which one personality acts upon another in order to modify the development of the order. It includes two fundamental polar known as teacher and the pupil. And their interaction is education. Education is tripolar process. John Dewey opinion education is a tripolar process. It involves interaction between pupil, educand, teacher, educator, and the social environment, social force. Education is a multipolar process. Nowadays has been realized that education is not being monopolized by school or by teacher dimensionator of learning. Rather, so many informal and non-formal agencies provide education to learners such as newspaper, TV, radio, club, internet, family, etc. Education is a purposeful process. We know that education is a purposeful process. Okay, education is a continuous process. Yeah, education is a continuous process because start when the child born and continues up to the last moment of the death. Education is deliberately processed. The educator is fully aware the fact that his aim is to develop the personality of the child along with definite lines through modification of behavior. Education is a psychological process because we study in nature, interest, capacities, limitation of the child. Education is sociological process because the child is a social being and such must be educated in such way that he become a useful member of the society. Education is the process of individual development. Education is the process of individual development which include physical, intellectual, aesthetic, moral, social, spiritual development of an individual. Now relationship between education, philosophy and education. Philosophy and education are closely interrelated and interdependent. Philosophy point out the ways and education follow it. Without philosophy, education would be a blind effort, and without education, philosophy would be crippled. In the word of Ross, philosophy and education are two sides of same coin. The former is a contemplative side, while the latter is the active side. Education is the process and philosophy is the product. All educational problems and questions are of philosophy. In other words, we can say that the application of philosophical principle in the field of education to solve various educational issues is regarded as educational philosophy. In fact, educational philosophy, that philosophy which provide answer to the educational issues: why to educate, aim, whom to educate child, who to educate teacher, where to educate school, what to educate curriculum, how to educate method, and when to educate motivation, and so on. Further, a sound philosophy of education is based on an adequate philosophy of life. Philosophy and education are reconstructive. They give to and take from each other in ebb to flow and thought and action. They are mean to one another and end. Thus, it is application of general philosophical position and educational problem is not the philosophy of education. Now, some definition of philosophy of education view of John Dewey. John Dewey endorsed the viewpoint of Ross when he says philosophy is the theory of education in its more general phase, which is that the art of education will never attain complete clearness without philosophy. Spencer view: true education is practicably to true philosopher. Gentile view: education without philosophy would mean a failure to understand the precise nature of education. John Adams says education is dynamic side of philosophy. Nunn said education aim are correlative to ideal of life. Dewey said education is the laboratory and in which philosophical direction become concrete and tested. Connors said theory of philosophy direct practical education and practice direct theory. Dependence of education on philosophy. Philosophy determines the real destination toward which education has to go. Philosophy has always inspired educational theory as well as practice. It determines the real destination toward which education has to go. In word of the way, education is a laboratory in which philosophy distinctions become concrete and are tested. Philosophy is wisdom. Education transmits that wisdom from one generation to the other. Philosophy represents a system of thoughts. Education embeds that thought in the content of instructions. Philosophy embodies a way of life. Education is the preparation for life. Philosophy is the knowledge obtained by natural reason. Education is the development of that reason and other power of mind. Philosophy determines the various aspects of education. All the problems of education are the problem of philosophy. Now, great philosophers have been great educationalists also. Great philosopher has been great educationalists in the East as well as in the West. We can find the clearest example of the dependence of education on philosophy in the lives teaching of all the great philosophers from down to Gandhi in the East, from Socrates down to John Dewey in the West. Philosophers like Gandhi, Tagore, Radhakrishna, Aurobindo Ghosh, Plato, Socrates, Locke, John Locke, Communists Rousseau, Froebel, and Dewey have been great educators. They reflect their philosophical view in their educational screens. Dependence of philosophy of education. Education is the dynamic side of philosophy. Education can be defined as the strongest instrument for the achievement of ideal of life and civilized attempt to bring about the balanced and proper development of human personality. The plant of education draws the nourishment from the soil of philosophy. In the word of Adam, education is the dynamic side of philosophy. It is the active aspects of philosophy belief, the practical means of realizing the idea of life. Now, the objective of studying educational philosophy to find out the solution of for various educational issues. Second, the purpose of studying educational philosophy is to make education according to the need-based life and society. Third, to determine the aim of human life, aim of survival. Fourth, to produce better citizen of fostering democratic attitude in behavior. Fifth is to make teaching learning process more effective and attractive. Six is to discuss the difference between philosophy and choose any one them to lead fruitful life of society. Seventh is to expand our knowledge and experience and implement them into educational practices. Eight is to bring out all-round personality development in child and prepare him to stand his own feet. Nine is to make education flexible in order to achieve the goal of country, national integration, international understanding and globalization. To develop education as a powerful instrument to bring about social, cultural, political, and economic change in society. Now we can see the scope of educational philosophy. Here's some scope. Interpretation of human nature, the world and the universe and their relation with man. Next is interpretation of aim and idea of education. The relationship of various components of the system of education, relationship of education in various areas like economic, political, social, cultural, reconstruction, etc. And educational value, theory of knowledge and its relationship with education. Thus, the scope of education will include aims and, aims and ideals of education philosophy, interpretation of human nature, education value, function of educational philosophy is aim of education. Philosophy of education provide original idea regarding all aspects of education, particular educational aim, method, teaching, curriculum, teacher, student, etc. It is said that educational philosophy gives different view, but this situation is not harmful, rather than it is help in providing education according to the need of society. The curriculum of with the help of educational philosophy, a teacher come to know the naturalist gives emphasis of science subject and why idealism gives importance of religious subject. Thus, it helps the curriculum designer to construct curriculum according to the need, ability, interest of the child. Method of teaching. In the method of teaching in different educational philosophy is very much helpful to adopt suitable method of teaching and make classroom teaching more effective and attractive. We get the knowledge of different method teaching, that is learning by doing in naturalism, lecture method, idealism, experimental method and pragmatism. With the help of educational philosophy, we able to choose the suitable method of teaching according to the nature of subject and school environment. Discipline. Concept of discipline change with the change in the outlook of life. In other words, discipline reflects the philosophy of life. Idealism advocates strict discipline and self-control, where the naturalism emphasizes freedom and natural discipline, and pragmatism stress social discipline. Teacher and student. It is the educational philosophy which determines the role of and quality of teacher as well as the student is diversified society. With the help of educational philosophy, we get knowledge pertaining to the role of the teacher as well as student in the school and relationship with each other. Students get secondary importance in idealism where they get primary importance in naturalism. Similarly, there is a close relationship between the teacher and the student in pragmatism and idealism, whereas is limited in naturalism. Administration. The knowledge of what kind of school administration we should adopt is determined by educational philosophy. Educational philosophy helps in establish a school democratic and totalitarian system. Nowadays, we are follows democratic principle for administrating the educational institution. This is based on educational philosophy. So all of this is related to philosophical side of education. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share my channel Study Sonipat. If you have any doubt regarding this topic, comment on comment box. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Good night.